Good morning, Warren. How are you?
I'm I'm great actually. Things are going very well. So I appreciate you getting to use my energy here.
Fantastic, fantastic. Because we're building this podcast together, and what I hope is that we have a lot of fun, but at the same time, we kind of educate the market and we help plenty of founders, CMOs, and CEOs in high tech. So let's get started with our very first episode. But
Excellent.
before getting started, thank you, Warren. Before getting started, let's inform what is this podcast about and what is our goal. So the podcast is about we'll be talking about real world examples of high tech companies. Why? What is our goal? Our goal is to help CEOs, founders, and CMOs in high tech build a go to solution status, or what's the same, a market position, a powerful market position, with the help of the behavioral science of the diffusion of innovations, which is what we know most about. And today's topic, we started with the episode one, talking about the importance of target market selection for product and business success, which means we're going to select the right target markets in order to uh, be successful and spend the less money to achieve sustainable growth faster, right?
Right. Yep.
Let's start with this topic by introducing a news that is not that much news because it's from September 2023, and it's about Akili. Akili, a digital medicine company that develops digital therapeutics for cognitive impairments. In September 2023, they announced an strategic plan to transition from a prescription to a non-prescription business model, or what's the same, to change its main target market after um, after some time in the market and after having launched their company in the stock market, and they were previously targeting a prescription based model. Here's what the CEO said. He said, "We have been running a prescription model that has dependencies on stakeholders who we don't solve a direct problem for. They don't solve a direct problem for, so they decided to switch. And that friction was more than they anticipated when they launched initially this model. So insurers have been extremely slow moving, and they are not stepping up for innovative medical products, even when they are safe. Additionally, physicians are steadily adopting Akili's products, but in today's world, many patients are unable to navigate and are frustrated with the prescription process. So what is the result of this? Of this pivoting, the company's workforce will be reduced and has been reduced by approximately 40%, including the elimination of field sales force and the market access team, which accounts for approximately two-thirds of the reduction. Well, it's big, this movement, and some will call it a pivoting movement, right? We call it a switch in the target market. How, Warren, how could this have been prevented?
Yeah. Um, so we see this you and I actually too often, unfortunately, where someone and I don't know the people who started this company, but in many cases, there's a technical founder or an engineer or someone who's very good with a technology, and they go through this process, which is they build a product and then they sell the product, or they try to sell the product. And what we always talk about as a better approach is you really have to identify and select the value that you want to deliver. Then, once you know exactly what kinds of positions are available and who the target market could be and what their growth opportunities are, then after you know that, you identify that, then step two is you go and deliver the value, and step three is you communicate the value. So um, I I'm gonna speculate a little bit that
Just
these folks built the product first and then went out and looked for a way to just sell it rather than doing it based on value identification early.
Uh, And we see this again and again, right? And in our mind, probably, and at least to me, this is very related with the fail fast movement or the fail fast approach. Is okay, you got the idea, you launch it, and let's see who buys it, and then fail it as soon as possible, so then you can pivot. But the reality of this is that most of because these are VC based um, startups, right?
Yeah,
So they've got money. But the reality of the startup ecosystem and the innovation ecosystem is that most of the innovations, they don't have enough funding to pivot. There are plenty of CEOs in the small and medium business that can fail tomorrow because competition is very entrenched. They need to innovate. There are scale ups. There are
yeah,
plenty of established business. And why not as small entrepreneurs, bootstrappers, solo entrepreneurs? They cannot risk to fail because they don't
right.
have money to
Yeah,
pivot.
yeah, and there are other consequences that go along with fail fast or that whole concept. Y- Um, you know, you're you're wasting precious time because um, it is absolutely possible and likely that someone will consider your category or your idea to be a good one, and a new competitor or 10 new competitors will all have a chance to catch up while you are out there failing. So there's a whole time to market element that is not good when you go out and look for a way to pivot. The other one is your reputation as a company always takes a hit when you take something out and then you have to take it away. And there are people who are, potentially left with a product that maybe it's not supported or it's not supported in the same way. Then, that's a bad mark on your reputation.
Yeah, yeah. And all of this is related. Well, let's dig a little bit deeper to help all these uh, product launchers, CEOs, founders in established businesses, and why not even the startups that have plenty of money. How do you select the right markets and avoid this? If we go into the specifics, right, and we have the methods and we know how to score and we know how to find out the 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 right markets to if you want a cheap product market fit. It's a concept that in one episode we gotta talk about the product market fit concept. And probably in the second episode, why not, right? Because we believe that is also a broken concept. Because
Yeah.
it's dynamic, right?
Yeah.
And so the question here, what pops in my mind is how do we help to avoid this? What is the exact process? How do I find out before launching the product which markets can I, let's say, attack? And then how do I select the right ones? Or if you want, how do I analyze the market properly?
Yeah. Uh, yeah. And we essentially have a framework for thinking about this. Um, and it's essentially looking at what is a perfect fit between what customers want to do in terms of buying and what you are able to do in terms of selling.
Mhm.
And the thing that um, I'm going to start with the second one. Here for a second. If you think about and the company we're talking about currently, um, if you think about what they probably developed in terms of a company skill set, what are they good at? What kinds of people do they have? And I I know they had to lay off a lot of salespeople. Well, it's because they had, uh, I think, early adopted a sales intensive business kind of skill set, and and that makes perfect sense for how they were trying to do it. But um, they needed to be good at what are typically complex interactions where they're doing a lot of selling directly to other businesses, like health systems. They've got a sales force. They've got it's it's a ideal, and I'm going to assume they did this too. It's ideal for providing consulting and integration support and all kinds of things. But after this pivot, what they're doing is they're now targeting, really more of a direct to consumer or B2C type of, skill set requirement.
Mhm.
Now that that's a a very difficult transition to go from selling to businesses and being business oriented with um, a highly supported set of, integration services or consulting services, and you pivot to consumer. um, that means the entire personality of the company has got to change. And I think that's worth mentioning is, where do you have skill sets? Are you good at selling to businesses, or are you really better at marketing to consumers?
Mm.
And you have to do an objective assessment of where it is you're strong and where you're not.
Mhm.
Because if you don't do that, you'll never then match up with the potential opportunities and then decide which target is the best one.
Mhm. Mhm. So before deciding which target is the best one, you also have to look at your inner strengths or what we call the crown jewels, right? If you're starting up, you can say to us, "Hey, but we don't have any experience. We don't have track record, but the founder has experience. And in that experience is where you have the authority because you know about something. So
Yep.
what is your track record? And that means your, how can you build your credibility based on your past wins in your track record? If what you want to build is too far from that track record and from your past, it's going to be very difficult to build your credibility in the market because you don't have authority, right?
Yep. And yeah, absolutely. Um, y- what I think what we typically uh, look at in terms of just assessing a company's ability to be effective, right? You want to have organizational effectiveness, and so you ask questions about what are the team skill sets. Can you put together a complete solution? Do you have good partners and allies? And do you know how to use the right channels? Um, uh, and like you were just saying, do you have the credibility? So there are all of these elements on the company side that determine really where you can be successful in targeting a market. And of course, then the other side is going to be, what does the customer look like? What
Let's talk about that.
is Yeah, okay. So
Critical
um,
success factors, right? We call them critical because if there is no market need, if there is no problem to solve,
yep.
we're not we're not
So
achieving any type of product marketing. We're not selling anything.
Absolutely. And you have to get a sense of the category that you're going to be playing in. Uh, how crowded is it? What are the other players look like? What kinds of alternatives are there? Is that segment or category growing, or is it shrinking? Um, where is it on the life cycle of adoption? Are you really looking at a category that's starting to decline, or are you in a category that's starting to build and increase and grow? And once you understand where you are in the life cycle, then you can get a sense of the motivation behind the purchase process. You look at positioning alternatives, and you focus on competitive differentiation within that category. So it's really the way these two things overlap, right? Your internal abilities, the external realities, where do they cross over and that can
Mhm,
become an ideal way to define a market is
mhm.
that way.
Fantastic. And thinking about Akili, a couple of things that pop in my mind to continue with the conversation. What is the big difference that not could be, but actually you can find when targeting the healthcare system, if you want, through a B2B2C model, which is the prescription-based model, versus the B2C model, which is direct to consumer model, right? So one model, the time to value is way longer because you need to go through different steps, stakeholders, players. You need to get the approval of different organisms in the health system. You need to have to be prescribed by the doctor to reach the final consumer, and the value will be realized once the consumer and who has the problem will use that innovation, right? In the meantime, still nobody has realized value. And that's a big long time to value. Whereas in B2C now, you download the app, you use the app, and you can see that you are improving your impairments. And then the time to value is dramatically lower versus the other side, the other model. So that is one of the factors um, that innovators can see when we're looking at the market to pick, right?
Yeah, correct. Um, so uh, one thing I'd like to add to what you have just said is you can, if you go B2C, you can have a lot more impact on the value delivered because you're not going through some other business or some other, some type of organizational
Mhm.
structure in order to deliver the value. So that is true. However, keep in mind that in the original business model, it was the doctors and the health systems that provided the credibility and
Mhm.
the reduction of risk that told the patient, okay, I, I I now trust this device because my doctor and their hospital and their clinic, they told me that this is what I need to go get. All right, and fill the prescription and get this device. When with this company going directly to consumers, they don't have that o- enormous credibility built in, and they've got to go somehow try to build that themselves because in a lot of ways, a lot of health care, products have a lot of risk. If it does not work, a patient, can stay sick or even get worse in terms of their health, and that's a high risk proposition. So the loss of credibility and the lowering of risk that is now, I mean, those things are not going to be available like they were. That's a big problem.
Yeah, yeah. I like where this is going, right? So we can speculate if you want uh, about what can happen in the future following the decision of innovations. So in my mind, let's speculate. Um, it could be that right now they're getting good traction going to B2C because you've got early adopters that are desperate to try this. But to reach the mainstream to be mass adopted,
Yeah,
probably people will wait for having a third party sponsorship like the FDA or the doctor. So do you think that eventually they will need prescription based in order to penetrate the mainstream?
correct. So really, if they had evaluated the market and done a lot of the things that we talk about, if they'd done that early, they could have gone B to C at the beginning, and they could have used innovators and early adopters as a direct kind of interaction with the end user patient. and they could refine their product. And then as they want to move into the mainstream, then they could lower risk, increase credibility by partnering with various entities and agencies, and reduce the perception of risk so that patients are very willing to adopt, and so are health systems. So
Mhm.
yeah, they're actually completely backwards from what I think might have made the most sense.
Mhm. Mhm. And in the meantime, you target the early adopters at the beginning, you get revenue because
And
they want it badly. You get revenue, you get funding, and then you have more financial stability to continue improving your business model and investing
yes,
heavily in developing that ecosystem and third parties that are going to give you enough credibility to penetrate in the mainstream. Right?
yeah, you cannot underestimate the need for credibility in a healthcare product, and the need for the perception of low risk. People will not risk their lives or their health
Mm.
on something
Or
that's
the
not
mental
proven,
health. In
right?
this case,
Right.
mental health is like, okay, if this is not proven, uh, I don't
And
know if
there
I'm going to get worse.
Yeah, exactly, and there are all kinds of caregivers and assistants and family members, and they're gonna stop your purchase, right? They're gonna say, "Whoa, wait, we know that we wanna help, uh, somebody get better, but, they're not gonna jump on something that has high risk either," and they can be part of that purchase decision even if it's B2C.
Mhm. Mhm. By the way, we're looking for a cool name for our podcast. So far, it's Warren and Jose's show, but eventually we're putting the name. So if you're watching, if you're in YouTube or LinkedIn, anywhere channel, just comment, drop us an email at LinkedIn, whatever, and provide us with your recommendations. We will
Yep,
very much appreciate your thoughts.
yep,
So we don't have much more time, and I want to get back to our main thread, which is target market selection, right?
yep,
So let's try to summarize this for innovators and for founders, everyone is trying to launch a new product. So we've been talking about the selling side and the buying side,
yep,
and
right,
and the perfect targets, the one that is going to help you achieve if you want product market fit faster, and it's not going to allow you to fail fast because we don't want you to fail. It's the one in the middle, in the selling, in the middle of the selling side and the buying side, right?
yep, absolutely. And if you, uh, I know that it's difficult in a startup or when you have something brand new, an innovation. You want to get out there and sell it and go, go, go. But it really will save you a lot of time and money, and and there are all kinds of benefits to analyzing the market first to see what opportunities exist, where you can provide value that no one else can, and really, select what value you are going to deliver before you before you create the product.
And what's more, also, before you try to push the sales of the product with a sales team that is used to sell something that is very, very different from what you're launching. Imagine
Yeah,
that you're selling data or you're selling a service, and now you want to sell software as a service or a hardware, has nothing to do. Your sales team is not ready. You
yeah,
fail that launch, then you're going to have a big pushback from sales. So
yeah,
before that's happening, you got to be very careful on selecting the market and then selecting the right sales team in order to launch a product that
yeah,
probably is not ready for a wine market launch
yeah.
or
And
general availability.
and that's a great point. You, depending on what you have and your situation, if you've got a sales team already in place, if you have existing products that you're selling, and here's a new product, and what we've also seen quite a bit is that a a certain sales team can be very, very, I mean, just excellent at selling products in the mainstream. But if they are now given a new product to sell and it's not a mainstream product, it's an early market product. That means they've got to go and sell to innovators and early adopters. Well, that's a completely different activity. You know, you've got to be very visionary in the way that you describe and sell this brand new product in the early market. So there are a lot of mainstream sales folks who struggle badly in an early market scenario. So you have to kind of take that into account also. Um, you know, um, where are your skills? You know, what are your crown jewels? What are you good at? Don't ignore that. You got to compare it to the market situation.
Yeah. And how that fits with the buying side, right? With the market
Yeah.
situation, which
Yeah.
by the way, we didn't talk much about the buying side, but is the most important one. We got to find if there is a market need, if the target audience has a problem, how urgent is the problem to solve, how is the pain, what are the penalties, which means, are lives at risk? Are they losing tons of money? Can they be fired because of that problem? And
Yep.
depending on that market need is, and together with
Yep.
with the selling side, with your strengths and organizational effectiveness is where you find uh,
Right.
the perfect the perfect target market for your innovation. Now, here you can see in the bottom also the URL of a brand new Miro board, so you can put your team together and you can go through up to the 9 different factors that we look at when analyzing the markets, and you can score the factors. So by using this Miro board, you can put your team together and you can analyze the market based off customer interviews and market interviews, and based off that, what we call external perspective. And with this, we'll continue in the episode those in the next episode. Thank you so much, Warren. It's been
Yep.
very fun. I hope it's been fun for you also.
Absolutely. And ideally, this will help people avoid wasting time, wasting money, having their product fail. You know, we're all about success at the beginning every time. So yeah.
Mm, Fantastic. And we want to know what you think. We want to know what are your questions about target market selection, which is also part of positioning strategy. In another episode, we'll talk about positioning and we will continue talking about all these topics. But if you have any question, just reach us out, drop a comment. We'll be there, and probably we can answer your questions in next episodes. It will
Yep.
be great.
Cool.
And for more videos and tutorials, you can follow us also, youtube.com/Jose Strategy. You can find there more video tutorials, guides, and how-tos. Hope this has been helpful for you all. Thank you so much for your time. See you in
See
two
you.
weeks.
Bye.
Bye, Warren.